Unsolicited advice.
What you whispering for? Yo, what's unsolicited advice? Take it or leave it.
If you don't put up a fight, you don't know this. If you don't stay up all night crying, you don't know what love is. If you're too good to call a million times, you say you know what love is, but I swear you never seen it. Swear.
This might touch a nerve because I know everybody ain't cool with it. But that whole sister wife thing, being a polygamist, polygamy, poly life, whatever you want to call it, it has its advantages and disadvantages. I've always been curious about it because they say in our culture, in African culture, that's normal to have several concubines or several wives or whatnot. Other cultures, it's natural and normal to have that, and women as well. But I noticed that some people get outraged. It's like, oh, what's wrong? One's not good enough. But if you ever watch those shows or you watch some people, for the most part, they seem very happy, and it's almost like they have a system. And they're never bored. Somebody's always around. The kids are always being tended to. It's constant stimulation, a constant attention, So it almost looks great. But I know there's always a dark cloud that comes with that too. Some people take advantage of it. And, and some people mess things up. But I've always been curious about it. I always thought it was fascinating because it's like, damn, what if a man was allowed to have, two women in his life? What if a woman was allowed to have two men in her life, or whatever your thing is? Would it work better? An extra, you got three incomes, everything's getting paid for, extra money to go on vacations, extra money to buy things that you want, buy things that you need. I think about it like that. Sex and intimacy is a given, but I've always been curious about the other stuff. Like, does it really work out? Like, I like looking to see, like, how do you get along? Do y'all sleep in the same bed, or do you spend time with this person one day, or do you spend time with another person another day in the same house? Like, just curious about how it works. But I did some research and I was looking at the stuff, but I'm gonna talk about the advantages first. So one of the advantages is the household task. So you share household chores, right? And of course, child rearing. So like I was talking earlier in my other thing, there's a double standard when it comes to child rearing, that it's a woman's job to take care of the child, and a man is just supposed to provide. But I don't think it matters. I think it's one of those things you just do together. But when you have multiple parents in the home, hey, it seems like everything runs a little smoother. The chores get done, the kids are taken care of. Everything, just watching it, it looks like it runs way smoother because you have an extra pair of hands helping out. The financial burden, looks like, you kind of can split it up. It's one thing to split it up 50-50, but to split it up, everybody get 33% each or whatever. Like other bills and stuff, like that's even better. That's even better. That's more money in your pocket. That's more, making sure everything gets taken care of. It's less likely to have arguments, and start fights because of the financial issues. You're able to save money, you're able to do certain things. So I'm for that. I'm all for that. Emotional support. Having an extra person in there. And let's say one person just ain't in the mood. Well, you got this other person that's sitting there and they're willing to listen. They're willing to understand or whatnot. So it's almost like, and I'm just, like I said, I know this is not going to be a popular thing. It's not going to be a popular thing with some people, but it's almost like keeping somebody from cheating or keeping somebody from stepping out because you already have the person in there. If one person's just not in the mood, hey, I'm going in this other room. You know, go hang out with my other person. They got time. It keeps things in home, and I think that's a great thing. Socialization part, you know. If you're bringing other children into the situation when you already have kids and this person bringing other children in, that helps with socialization as well with the kids. It helps with socialization with each other. I think that it increases the socialization and overall health and wealth. They say polygamy may lead to greater health and wealth for women and their children. So, I mean, it sounds all great, right? Because we all look at the fun part about it. You know, for a guy, it's like, oh, you know, I got 2 women, you know. And technically, 2 women, you ain't got to cheat. But, of course, you do have some guys that get greedy and go and mess it up. So I'm not saying that it don't happen, but it done the right way, it seems like it has a lot of advantages. But, of course, with that, we're gonna get into the disadvantages as well, because the disadvantages seem more interesting, of course, because people like to talk about that. That's why we watch reality shows. That's why we get into things like this. We don't want to, you know, this ain't Good Day America. We want to look at the drama. So the disadvantages, of course, the number one thing is jealousy. So polygamous families, you know, they experience a lot of bickering and sexual jealousy between each other, because some people are with it at first, but when you're dealing with connection, when people are connecting, or maybe the sex is better with one versus the other, or, you know, you all of a sudden are arguing with one, but you never argue with the other, that creates a lot of conflict in so many different ways. And you have to be a very confident person, for one, to live a polygamous life. You have to be very confident and secure in yourself. You have to be calm, understanding, willing to communicate and compromise and negotiate. You know, different things go into it. But there's always that understanding that, hey, this is what you signed up for. But jealousy can rear its ugly head real quick in those type of situations. Another thing that's a disadvantage is it can affect certain children's health, mental health too. So it could be like a risk factor for, you know, children to be around things like that if they don't understand what's going on. Some people feel like they're saving their children by not telling them or trying to, you know, explain it in a weird way. But it can mess with their mental health if you're not educating them on what's going on. If you're leaving them in the dark, they can have real bad issues. They can go to school and get picked on because people, oh, you know, such and such, you got a mom, you know, you got a mom and a dad, or you got a dad and a dad, or a mom and a mom, or whatever. You know, a child's health is very important in this situation. If you're not educating them and keeping them on the loop on what is going on and why things are the way they are, it can end bad. And you can get your kids taken away from you, from what I've seen. Another thing that's a disadvantage is a woman's health. So it could be very detrimental effects from polygamy on wives, especially their health. You know, like depression, anxiety, you know, or even a psychiatric disorder. Because you got to understand, some of them go along with this because they love you and they want you to be happy. And if this is what make you happy, they're with it. And they're willing to risk their sanity. They don't know that at the time, but they end up doing it. So, you know, you got to understand that just because a woman or a man is agreeing to do this does not mean it's not going to have a long-lasting effect on them. Some people love you so much that they're willing to go through the fire with you. So another thing is the other main thing is gender imbalances. So you have a lot of guys that will try to hoard wives or hoard women. They'll just keep bringing in a bunch of them. And the women will do too as well, but mostly guys. And it builds an imbalance in that gender and you're breeding competition, jealousy. You're asking for the worst to happen. The whole thing is just to have one other person, not several other people. Because now it's almost like watching The Bachelor or back in the day, Flavor of Love. You remember all the girls were so nice and sweet starting off, but then they all knew what they were there for. They were there to get the attention of one guy. So they might start off, oh, let's get all dolled up and go to the club. So is that liquor getting their system? Nah, bitch, that's my man. You know, I don't know why you're here. He needs to get rid of you. I'm gonna go tell him to get rid of you right now. I mean, it's just one of those things. And let's just say, you're an older, mature woman. You're with this man, y'all are older and mature, and he brings in a younger sister wife or a younger lady into the situation. So now, he done got extra hard or extra perky now because she in here, because it's some new pussy. So, when it's a gender imbalance. And it's also almost a favoritism thing, but some people get real greedy in these situations. They get too dominant, thinking that it's all about them, and they forget that it's supposed to be a shared love. But it's just one of those things. I've always been interested in it because it's like, me being a guy, it's like, you do think about it sometimes, like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Or should I be a one-woman man? What works? They make it look like it works, but does it work? Is that for me? Is it not for me? And some women, I'm sure they do the same thing too when it comes like, man, I'd love to have two men in the house. Maybe that's for me. Maybe I need more than one man, to each his own. But, people engage in, polygamy. They've been doing it for years, engaging in polygamy. But even whether it's like religious or just societal reasons. But a lot of times they do it for stability, for safety, for companionship, economic resources, reproduction. But usually the last thing is love. Last thing is love. I would say if you're going to do it, you're doing it for the other stuff, for the stability, for the safety, economic resources, companionship, or if you're just trying to have babies. It's a great situation. If not, don't do it because of love. No. Yeah. Yeah. But I just thought that would be a fun one to talk about, because a lot of people, they don't like that shit. They don't. Of course, mostly women don't like it. They don't like talking about it. They think that is, but you do have some women out there that they think about it. I've always said it just depends on if you're allowed to get who you want. But that's just my unsolicited advice. You can take it or leave it.